UFC Vegas 101. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card, the first breakdown of 2025. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. And also note, I am going to be live for the entire UFC Vegas 101 fight card, first fight companion of 2025. Make sure you tune in 4 p.m. Eastern time, Saturday. Let's get into the fights. We got a lot to talk about. First things first, we got Solecki versus Nurullo Aliev. Solecki is stepping in on short notice, replacing Ashmuz. I think this is a very bad matchup to step in on short notice in. Like, even though Solecki is relatively good at grappling, I like Aliev a lot. Now, of course, he's the pick. Yes, he's kind of like a Habib clone. They call him the Tajik Eagle. To be honest, they look damn near identical. And there's similarities within their fighting styles. Aliev is a pressure-based wrestler who works pretty well from top position. Now, he does have okay setups with punches leading into takedowns. I think those are effective here, especially against Solecki, who, to be honest, is really not much of a striking threat. Solecki has okay stand-up, but he doesn't really shine at all on the feet. Solecki's known for good jiu-jitsu, but when I have a high-caliber wrestler on the other side, even though very young and unproven, I think he can stifle Solecki. Last time out, Grant Dawson dominated Solecki in the grappling exchanges, and to be fair, Solecki also had a normal camp for that fight. Coming into this one, even though, I think he trains full-time, like all year, including when he doesn't have fights booked, to get into high caliber fight shape against a high paced wrestler like this on short notice, it just kind of to me seems like a recipe for disaster. I don't think it's going to go well. I think Aliev is going to probably wrestle him up. He might have to deal with a couple guillotine attempts from Solecki because, to be fair, Solecki's gilly is nice. I just think that Aliev will be able to stifle the potential submission offense that is threatened as he shoots for takedowns. And then I think he's going to be able to work well from the top position. And I think he's going to garner a lot of control time here. And I feel like we're looking at Nurullo Aliev probably gonna take all 3 rounds. I'm seeing a decision. I don't think that this fight is a blowout in round number 1. I still respect Solecki's experience. And Aliev, let's be honest, when we look at the odds too, I'll mention it as well. But the likelihood of a finish from him is not likely. We haven't seen him get finishes at a high level. Now, odds coming in are minus 425. So you're in a spot where Aliev is really only parlayable as far as the money line goes. I doubt people are throwing it straight down the line at minus 425. So if you're on the betting side, Aliev is something you got to parlay up. Now, you have to push, at least I have to, a little bit of a cautionary tale. Aliev hasn't fought anybody super high level, but to be fair, when he did make his debut a couple of years ago, it's now back in 2023, like nearly 2 years ago, he beat Rafael Alves. I'm always botching his name. Even though Alves got released from the UFC, the dude was an explosive powerhouse of a striker with a nasty guillotine and is now making waves in karate combat. So we fought a dangerous fighter, even though it's somebody that's no longer on the UFC roster. I think it's still a win that demands some respect. And I think that stylistically, Alves' explosiveness for a young Nurullo Aliev like 2 years ago is more difficult to deal with than slow but calculated Solecki's submission game. He's not quick on the feet. He's okay at striking. I feel like Solecki has tuned it up a bit, but not a knockout puncher, right? So not much of a striking finish. His real chance is to win by submission against Aliev, who showcased very good submission defense in some really dangerous spots against Alves. And Alves has a tight guillotine, a nasty guillotine, as does Solecki. Solecki put Grant Dawson in, weird position with the gilly. But at the end of the day, I think Aliev's submission defense holds up. I think Aliev is able to garner control time from top work a bit of ground and pound, and I think he's taken home a decision win. I think Nurullo Aliev is very good, even though he's been out for a while. Injuries and whatnot. I think he comes back showing improvements in his game. And at 24, you got to go with the up and comer pick wise. At least I'm going to go with him. I think Nurullo Aliev, decision win. He beats Joe Solecki, and he's somebody that you got to have some excitement about. To be fair, half of it is because he looks just like Khabib, but he also kind of fights like him too. And I like his style. The Tajik Eagle, I like the vibe. He talks good on the mic as well. I like Aliev. I'm excited for him to be back. We didn't get to see him in 2024. We get to see him now in 2025. Let's see how the 24-year-old looks against, crafty veteran. I'm going to say he pulls through, especially with Solecki on short notice. I don't love that for him. Let's keep on running. Next fight on the card, we got the ladies going after it. It's Victoria Dudakova versus Fatima Kline. Now, you can see odds on screen. They've probably adjusted a bit, but minus 800 for Fatima Kline is crazy to me. I'm picking Fatima Kline to win. Don't get it twisted, but I don't see how she's this huge of a favorite against Victoria Dudakova, who was undefeated just up to the last fight with Sam Hughes, which, yes, she lost, and she got out-wrestled in certain positions, but she still was in the fight until the end. Still had moments in striking, was touching Sam Hughes with good boxing and close. Dudakova is not a complete dud. It's just stylistically here, this is a matchup that you have to favor Fatima Kline's potential offensive attack with grappling. She's showcased very good jiu-jitsu in the past. She does have nice takedowns. Her control game is solid. Not a great finisher, at least not at a higher level, but at the end of the day, she's been 4 rounds, I guess. Technically, it's a championship fight in 4 rounds in CFFC. It's weird how they do that, but she's shown she got a gas tank to go into the later stages. The issue with Dudakova, and it's a major one, is questionable gas tank. Big time. She gets tired heading into the 3rd round, even ended a 2nd. She's breathing heavy. Can I see her getting out to a huge 2-round lead against Fatima Kline, who's naturally more of a pressure fighter herself? I don't think so. I think Dudakova struggles with the grappling pace in this fight, and I think Fatima Kline's good. I mean, say what you want, she got dominated by Jazz Davicius. That's a really hard short notice debut, and, she took her down early. I'm taking some positive away. I like Fatima Kline's game. She trains with Erin Blanchfield, who's a monster of a grappler. And I think that Fatima Kline probably does put it on Dudakova with her grappling. And I think she's pretty live to take this fight by maybe a later stage submission. But I can't say it with crazy confidence because Dudakova at one point was like a menace as far as Russian female prospects go. Never lost a fight, even in her amateur career, until August, where Sam Hughes got her on a competitive decision. Now, the Jin Yu Fry fight, missed weight. She got taken down and controlled a bit. Wasn't a good look. Questionable fight. Estela Nunes fight, super inconclusive. But she had hype on her coming in. I mean, she was a minus 535 favorite against Jin Yu Fry, and then she came out at minus 165 against Hughes and loses. Now it's crazy to see how she's a huge underdog against Fatima Kline. I think Kline wins the fight, but it's a really oversaturated line. I mean, minus 950 doesn't make any sense. At open, minus 225. To see the spread to minus 950 is wild, but I guess it's because a lot of people are seeing that Fatima Kline should absolutely exploit the grappling of Dudakova. But that's not to say Dudakova has no grappling. She actually took down Sam Hughes a bit. She has decent takedowns. It's just her gas tank is not good, and she is not as good at jiu-jitsu as Fatima Kline. No doubt about it. So Fatima Kline to win the fight, very live, obviously. She's a minus 950 favorite. Oh my God. Crazy, crazy wide lines. I don't really like an over in this fight here or anything like that. I was just curious what it was. Minus 260. I could see a tired Dudakova getting choked out by Fatima Kline. I think I'm going to say Fatima Kline submission or decision. Initially, I just wrote down Kline by decision, but playing the fight out in my head, Dudakova tired in round number 3, maybe even shooting sloppy takedowns herself, trying to get the fight to the ground, because I do think there's a chance she shoots. It's not like she's a pure striker only. She could get caught in a counterattack submission. So I think Kline is very live to win this fight. And I'm going to say live for a submission too. So Fatima Kline to get it done, I think is a high likely outcome. Obviously, odds see that too because she's a huge favorite. But, you know, oversaturated line, too wide, way too wide. But at the end of the day, Fatima Kline should definitely win the fight. And that's why I guess the books are backing it heavy with the fucking line being this wide, because to parlay it up, you're going to get nothing. If you put Aliev and Kline in a parlay, you're not getting much on it. But is what it is. Kline's going to win the fight. Next fight, let's keep running. We have Magomed Gadzhiyasulov versus Bruno Lopes. I'm pretty excited to see this fight. I'm going to pick Magomed Gadzhiyasulov, but to be fair, he is, I don't know, maybe a tad bit worrisome in one area, and that's like striking against guys that can chop at his legs and then guys who can stop his takedowns. But I don't really feel like Bruno Lopes is the guy to beat him. I'm going to pick Magomed Gadzhiyasulov. He's a rangy kickboxer. Gadzhiyasulov is good from distance, picks his shots well, pretty nice kicker, good puncher too, but not a power puncher. I want to make sure you guys know, like Gadzhiyasulov, not great at finishing fights. He's good at finding ways to win. I think he has a decent fight IQ. I think that's why he beat Brenson Ribeiro. Like last time against Brenson Ribeiro, go rewatch it. He was getting his leg chopped up in that fight. His leg was beaten up bad. And early in that fight, it was interesting. Ribeiro was the one on the offensive wrestling attack, a little bit worrisome of Gadzhiyasulov striking, but ended up doing damage on the feet. Then Gadzhiyasulov timing some takedowns, getting on top, showing he has the IQ to say, hey, the striking is dangerous with this dude. Brenson Ribeiro hits hard and he kicks hard. Let me take him down and control him and exploit that weakness. With Bruno Lopes, different matchup. Now, Bruno Lopes actually got crushed by Brenson Ribeiro when they fought on Contender Series. It was a violent KO. I'm sure most of you have seen it if you've been watching Contender Series like for the past couple years, because it was a highlight reel. Lopes got chinned bad. The thing is, with Lopes, he kind of sits in the pocket a little long. He's not super quick. He has decent punching power. He can rip hooks and like throw okay flurries from like the mid-range and the close range. But at times I feel like he leaves his head there to just be absolutely clobbered. I mean, on the Contender Series this past season, he got flash dropped in round number 1 in the fight that he won against Sazignani. And Sazignani is kind of just like a wild brawler, and Lopes struggled a bit in that fight. And then he's tough. He's able to, you know, overcome some chaos early and then get the finish, but not without getting touched up himself. Gadzhiyasulov is a good technician, and from range, I think he gives Bruno Lopes a lot of trouble. When they tie up, I think Gadzhiyasulov can probably put Lopes on his back. Lopes is not known to be an exceptional wrestler. He's got decent defense that he showcased in the past. Seems to have relatively strong hips. But I do think Gadzhiyasulov could potentially trip him, get on top, control a bit, strike from range. I think Gadzhiyasulov is the cleaner fighter than Bruno Lopes here. You know, the calf kick for Bruno Lopes is something he should look to throw, but I don't know. He just lacks head movement, and he's like not super slick. I could see Gadzhiyasulov stinging him with punches. Even though Gadzhiyasulov doesn't have heavy hands or much knockout ability, I do think he has enough pop in his strikes that Bruno Lopes can't get reckless on him and just burst inside throwing crazy shots constantly. So I'm going to say Gadzhiyasulov probably wins a dominant decision with some counter striking, maybe timing some takedowns. Yeah, I say he gets it done. I think he beats Bruno Lopes. He shouldn't lose this fight here. He's definitely more well-rounded than Bruno Lopes. I think he's better at fighting than Bruno Lopes. But Bruno, you know, when he can get going, he's a little bit of a pit bull. And if Gadzhiyasulov maybe gets in a compromised spot, like Lopes bursting onto him with big shots, if Gadzhiyasulov can't land the takedown, but I don't know. I got to go 9-0. I got to go with Gadzhiyasulov, the OV, to remain undefeated. I just think he's better than Bruno Lopes, even though Lopes is like a gritty underdog. Gadzhiyasulov's a -222 favorite. Lopes plus 187. At open, it was minus 240. Yeah, so Gadzhiyasulov is remaining, at that favorite status line. And I see him beating Bruno Lopes. I like Gadzhiyasulov style here. He should get it done. Beat Brenson Hibero. It was a fight that, he did grab the cage early to stop a takedown, but ultimately his wrestling came in handy and he won it with it. Interesting, the over is plus 130. Not saying I'm going to go out and bet it, but plus money over for a fight that's definitely live to go distance with Gadzhiyasulov. Very much a decision winner. But does Bruno Lopes' durability hold up if Gadzhiyasulov catches him with a clean shot? Maybe not, because we've seen Lopes KO'd. So we shall find out. But either way, Magomed Gadzhiyasulov, as far as the pick to win the fight, I think so. I think he takes a decision home against Bruno Lopes. I like his chances. Let's keep running up the card. Next fight, we got ladies going after it. We got Ernesta Kareckaite versus Nicole Caliari. I'm going to go with Nicole Caliari. Yeah, I think she can win. I understand that she is at a pretty fair size difference. She's a lot shorter, right? 5'3" to 5'9", and a 9-inch reach advantage. Like, there's some red flags around Caliari being so much smaller than Kareckaite, but Kareckaite is kind of like just known for her striking. She's shown okay grappling defense and definitely necessary moments against Diani Barboza. She was almost choked out in the first round with the rear naked choke. So she was put in a bad spot by Barboza. I know Barboza's a fun fighter, but let's be real, is Barboza super slick on the ground, right? I don't think so. Caliari's a tricky one because she's kind of relentless with her pressure, looking for takedowns, but she's also active from the bottom if she needs to throw something up. She got an armbar against Jiu-Jitsu black belt La Framboise on the damn Contender Series this past season. I don't love Caliari's chance when she's tangled up. Or rather, I don't love Kareckaite's chance when she's tangled up with Caliari. I think Caliari in close range is tricky to deal with. I think Caliari's takedown threat is real. Kareckaite hasn't shown a lot of power. She's got good volume punching, and she's long, and she fights well from range, but hasn't shown me the ability to keep these girls off of her. Like Carly Judice, right, was sitting in there and mixing up shots with her, willing to eat punches from Kareckaite. So I asked myself, we have Caliari, who I believe for a fact is better at jiu-jitsu than Kareckaite. If given the opportunity to clinch up with her, if she can find it, if she can create it, I believe can take her down. So Kareckaite is going to need to strike from distance. She's going to need to do some damage from distance too. It's not just like she's going to pick her apart for 3 rounds from range and Caliari just shies up, won't close the gap. I think that Kareckaite is going to have to deal with Caliari right in her face against the cage at some point. And I think that's where Caliari shines. And I think she can get Kareckaite down. Tricky matchup for Kareckaite and Caliari, both of them. It's a weird fight because we have obvious skill set advantages. No one is arguing that Kareckaite is the better kickboxer, for sure. And I think everybody would agree Caliari's better at grappling. It's just, how does the game planning work, right? Kareckaite is going to have to fight off takedown attempts. If Kareckaite can do some serious damage to Caliari early, and like I said, make her shy away and just get picked apart, but does she finish her? Kareckaite hasn't shown that ability. So if she can't really hurt Caliari, but she's winning striking exchanges, but not doing much damage, what tells me that's going to deter Caliari from consistently pressing for the takedown and eventually getting Kareckaite into that compromised spot? I'm going to say that Caliari takes home a win. Her jiu-jitsu skills are good. She's got good trips, good submissions. She's got an athletic build, and she's got good athleticism, but I do think the striking is a bit clunky. It's just Kareckaite, though the nickname is heavy-handed, I don't think that's true. I don't think she's heavy-handed. She's a good volume puncher. She's fun to watch, but I think Caliari with grappling can win this fight. We'll see, man. Competitive matchup, but I think Caliari's the pick for me. I know. I'm picking Caliari. I think it's going to happen. I think she's going to get her in a weird spot. I don't really get the odds with the fight like this being minus 270. I get it, the height, but yeah, they opened that minus 110. That makes more sense to me because I see this as more of a 50-50 fight. Minus 270 for Kareckaite is too freaking wide. How is she minus 270? Really? Right? Laying down that much for Kareckaite. Caliari at plus 230 has a lot of upside. She's a dangerous Brazilian girl. Kareckaite last time, she lost to a tough Brazilian girl. More of a striker, too, with Diane Barboza. Now she's fighting more of a grappler. And Kareckaite, losing and grappling to a more so known striker. I know Barboza's well-rounded. She's not a bum. But I think Caliari can pull through for an upset win. I'm going to say she gets it. I'm going to go with the plus 230. Over is minus 240. Playing with fire. If Caliari can get it under the chin, she can strangle her. I'm going to say Caliari for a bit of an upset here. Going to be weird to see this size difference actually play out when they get inside of the cage. And is it going to be as vast as it looks on paper? But I'm going to say Caliari on the ground. Damn, the height really don't matter much if she's in dominant position from top position. So Nicole Caliari, I'm going to say the underdog pulls through with the grappling edge. Let's keep on running. Next fight on the card, we have Preston Parsons versus Jacobe Smith. I'm going to go with Jacobe Smith. He's stepping in on super short notice and taking pretty serious test, man. Preston Parsons, it's not an easy out for a debut. He was scheduled to fight against Andreas Gustafsson, who actually was also supposed to be making a debut. But this is kind of a harder fight than Gustafsson because Jacobe Smith is a high-level wrestler, and I don't think Parsons now has an advantage in that area. I'm going to pick Jacobe Smith, and I know he's on super short notice. I know that's worrisome. It should be worrisome. You have to be somewhat nervous, right? When you're throwing down on somebody coming in super short notice. But the truth is, Jacobe Smith seems to have a very high caliber ceiling, like potential wise. High caliber ceilings, maybe not the word, but high caliber potential and a high ceiling. What we saw on Contender Series is dominance. What we've seen from him is dominance. He showcased knockout power. He showcased ground and pound. He showcased explosiveness and freak athleticism. He already has this base that's looking so good that I feel like when you match him up against Preston Parsons, who, he's still young at 29, but 11-5 is a pro. Like, it's kind of leading me to believe he's a gatekeeper journeyman. That's probably his potential. Preston Parsons has got decent wrestling. He can mix it up okay with the hands, but he's not exceptional in any area. He's just tough. He's a tough guy that throws hard shots. Jacobe Smith has more power on the feet. I think he's slicker on the feet. He's better at wrestling. It comes down to, can Jacobe Smith deal with a guy who might not go down easy from big shots you're throwing at him? Is he ready to put a 3-round beating on Preston Parsons? My answer is yes. I know it's short notice, but a young guy like Jacobe Smith that DC's talking about having all this crazy potential, to me, how I view it is this guy is putting it all on the line. He's training his ass off all year. So I think he's ready to jump in. He's looking at cards like, hey, if they give me a call, I'm ready to fight on short notice. I'm sure he wanted the Preston Parsons fight because Andreas Gustafsson also won on the Contender Series. They're in the same weight class. And he got the fight against Preston, which is actually like a pretty solid fight for a debuting guy. I'm going to say Jacobe Smith is too much for Parsons. We saw Parsons KO'd before D-Rod knocked him out earlier on in his UFC career. He's been kind of missed a coin flip, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Oban Elliott dominated him last time. I'm a big Oban Elliott believer, so I picked that too. I called Oban Elliott, man. I've seen the flaw in Parsons. He beat Matt Semmelsberger, and then you see split decision with Giles is okay. Evan Elder win was, decent, but Elder's a lightweight, and then the knockout loss to D-Rod. Jacobe Smith has high potential. I'm going to say that he beats Preston Parsons. He's probably going to be too quick for him on the feet, and even if he is looking to wrestle, I don't know. As good as Parsons' takedown defense seems in certain fights, he's been taken down by lesser guys. I think Smith gets him down, and I feel like, dude, on his back, Preston Parsons, he'll be uncomfortable. Smith will be beating him up with good ground and pound. He's got a good wrestling base, powerful striking, good gas tank, chain wrestling style when he needs to. He's very active. The prospect is too talented to overlook here. I'm going to say that we get a W for Jacobe Smith on short notice, and I think he's live for a TKO. I think he's live to finish this fight. He's a minus 355 favorite. Of course he is. Opened at minus 210, and bro, this line literally just came out today. So, yeah, it's going to get wider, minus 355. I don't think too many people are running out to say Preston Parsons is their favorite dog. I feel like Jacobe Smith's a gangster, and I think he beats Preston Parsons anywhere this fight goes. The only way Parsons beats him, to me, Jacobe Smith gassed out, and then Parsons somehow wins late. I don't see that. Jacobe Smith's in great shape. He's going to win this fight. I'm saying Jacobe Smith for a dominant win. And I think a nice finish. He wrecked Savoy on Contender Series. Just beat him up with ground and pound, like a mercy stoppage by the referee. So Jacobe Smith is showcased that he can get knockouts on the feet and beat people up with grappling. With a wrestling base like that, welterweight division, I feel like his ceiling is too high to overlook. So Jacobe Smith to run through Preston Parsons on short notice. And I think this will be a bit of a statement win heading into 2025 with a short notice W like this. Jacobe Smith's got a bright future if he can, I don't know, if he can hold up like how I'm seeing him in my mind, then I think he could do some big things in this game. So we'll see. I think Jacobe Smith's pretty good. Good enough definitely to beat Preston Parsons even on short notice. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we have Thiago Moisés versus Trey Ogden. I am going to pick Trey Ogden here. I like Trey Ogden's chances. As an underdog, too, it's interesting. He's always overlooked. They're overlooking Trey Ogden. Thiago Moisés is okay, but any high-level test he's gotten, he lost. Got dropped by Ludovic Kline last time on his way to losing a dominant decision. Has a win in the mix, but Mitch Ramirez, the guy lost on Contenders. He's okay. Tough dude. Stepped in, but that's okay. I mean, beating a guy with no UFC experience, lost to BSD. BSD is really tough, and like we know his style is in your face, ballistic pressure. So Moisés just got outdogged. He's got wins over Quizio Costa, who's all right down at featherweight. Yagos, who's washed. Trey Ogden, I just think is a hard matchup because he's super well-rounded. He's got a good gas tank. He's got a good chin. He's a calm fighter. He works off a nice jab. He's got good wrestling. He's got good submission skills. He's kind of like a do-it-all pretty damn well fighter with like a little extra XP on the wrestling game because his takedowns are solid. And he does have a tight squeeze. He's strong too. Thiago Moisés was like known for his jiu-jitsu, but more of like a Muay Thai style striker when they're mixing it up on the feet. Kind of quick, but doesn't really have a lot of pop in his hands. Has better kicks. I mean, you can see evidence of that with the Mitch Ramirez leg kicks. But I feel like Moisés is just, he's not that good, man. Like Trey Ogden, even though he's 35 years old, I think is better and has more potential even moving up to the higher level of the damn lightweight division. Like if you look at Trey Ogden, he's got a win over Zellhuber, who's decent. And, you know, he lost to Bajo Mundes. Really should have 3 wins in a row, but he outdogged Loic Rajabov, beat Kurt Holloway, who's tough. I feel like Trey Ogden can beat a Thiago Moisés level guy, man. I'm going to say Ogden probably wins it on the scorecards. Thiago Moisés can have a couple moments in grappling exchanges for sure. He's tricky. And also in the striking, his kicks, like I said, I like the leg kicks. He could chop heavies. He could rip some big overhands, but he's not a knockout artist. And Trey Ogden's got a good chin. He works a good jab. I think he could even time some takedowns in this fight. I'm going to say Trey Ogden pulls the upset off. I feel like he's being overlooked. I think he wins this decision against Thiago Moisés. Looking at the odds, Moisés is a 2-1 favorite, but how and why? Why? Why is Thiago Moisés 2-1? If you're picking Moisés, or maybe if you're betting Moisés, in the comments, answer that question to me. How is Thiago Moisés a 2-1 favorite? What has he done to be a 2-1 favorite? I don't think so. I don't think it beats Mitch Ramirez. Trey Ogden beats him too. I'm sure of it. Malquizio Costa, come on. Trey Ogden is being disregarded by the books. The line to me is wrong. And I'm going to say plus 170, Trey Ogden with a nice win. Forget about the over. I'll read it off for shits and gigs. It's minus 260. I like the Ogden underdog side. He fights hard. If you're looking to like bet on an underdog, Ogden's going to bring the fire. He's not going to back down from a fight. He works a good jab. He's got a good chin. He's got good wrestling. I think he can do it all pretty well. And I'm going to say that Trey Ogden beats Thiago Moisés over a hard 3 rounds. 35 in this fight, like it's arbitrary, man. It's not like Trey Ogden's 39. He's 35. He's still in his prime. I think he's gotten better each and every fight, too. Kind of like a late peak in fighting. And Trey Ogden's a coach as well. He's got a high fight IQ. I think he can find the holes in Thiago's game and beat him, whether it's in striking or if it's in grappling. I think he can outwork Moisés, and I think he wins this fight on the cards. And he's a dog, so give me Trey Ogden for the W. I like that call a lot from me. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we have Marco Tulio versus Ihor Potieria. Yeah, I'm going to pick Marco Tulio to beat Potieria. It's disappointing because, I don't know, I've grown to like Potieria over the past several fights. Him, going to war with Bellato, you got to respect him. It was a good fight. And then him pulling off this upset against Bryshek was kind of crazy. And then Pereira backflips on him. And then he fought hard against Cesar Almeida, but obviously he loses to a way more technical striker. I'm picking Tulio, don't get it twisted. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Potieria, like, it's fun to have him around. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn. 2-5 in the UFC, 2 losses in a row. This might be farewell Potieria unless he can catch Tulio's chin with a wild shot, because he does have some slick shots from his hips. But the thing is, Tulio is like pretty well-rounded. He's got good aggressive striking. He's strong inside of the clinch. He could potentially time takedowns. Potieria sometimes is like falling to his back and looking awkward in different exchanges. And I feel like he doesn't have a super fine-tuned game. He's got like slick hands and a decent striking arsenal, but okay enough grappling, but not high level, right? Doesn't really bring an offensive wrestling threat. I think tied up with Tulio, I could see Tulio being the stronger guy. I'm going to say Tulio probably pulls through, man. I think he does. Potieria is powerful, though. He's got slick pop. I mean, even though, it's not like he's KO'd anybody good, besides, I guess, the Wash Shogun. At times, he showcases really snappy shots. It's just inconsistent as hell, man. He's not a guy that you can back with confidence. But I will say this. I was looking at Marco Tulio's career, and the guy that he lost to by KO also has slick hands and caught him with, I think it was a big right hand. It was like a shot, like weird looping slick shot, and flattened Tulio. And Tulio has not lost since then. But that guy was also 6'3", kind of like similar build to Potieria. So maybe if you're looking for like a D-gen sprinkle and you're like, yo, I don't trust Tulio in a debut, which like I don't fully blame you, because Tulio is debuting, even though he's looking well-renowned and pretty fine-tuned with this game. He's a debuting guy. He's 30 as well. He's older than Potieria. But he does train to shoot the box. I'm like talking myself to one side and the other. But, bro, this minus 500 really makes sense, though. Minus 300, minus 270, but like minus 500 for Tulio? Damn. He looks so boring against Yusri Balgori to like a snooze fest win. I guess he looked decent last time against, what was the French kickboxer? Duclos. Duclos is kind of like a worse version of Potieria. And I guess it's true. Tulio did finish him with a nasty like spin body kick. That was pretty violent. Potieria plus 375. I'm curious to see what a Potieria knockout line will be. Over 1.5, minus 105. I think it's live to go over 1.5. But I'm very curious about that knockout line for Potieria. It's a pure degeneracy call. It's not me actually saying that's the outcome that's going to happen. But I don't know. Like, Potieria could land a slick shot and buckle Tulio and put him out. He's got more UFC experience. Yeah, he's got a shit record at 2-5. I know. I'm going to say Tulio wins, though. The official pick, Tulio. He should be able to chop apart Potieria's legs, slow him down, control him in the clinch, hit him with big shots, make him uncomfortable, and probably like either a decision or maybe a later finish. It's just the D-Gen side whispering, Potieria by KO. But Tulio for the W is the official prediction. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card we have is actually the featured prelim, Jose Johnson versus Felipe Bunes. I'm going to pick Jose Johnson to beat Felipe Bunes. I like his chances, man. Freak frame, too. I don't know how this dude makes 126. 6 feet tall, and he's at 126, man. That is insane to me. Like 6 foot is like kind of on the tall side for the lightweight division, and he's 6 foot at flyweight. Johnson's build is very unique, man. He has good length, but ultimately, Johnson doesn't use his length well. A lot of the time, he just, for whatever reason, likes to close the gap and fight like a shorter guy. I think he likes striking from range, likes tying up and working for takedowns. I feel like he isn't super efficient at striking from distance. I feel like he's more, I would consider a pressure based striker than like a deceptive counter striker. But having a build at 6 foot at 125, you would think his game would be more so distant striking and counter shots. But I'm telling you, it's really not. It's really not. I feel like he's a little bit cleaner than Bunes in striking. I think his jiu-jitsu matches Bunes. He's the better athlete of the two. Bunes got broken pretty bad by Joshua Van, but to be fair, it's Joshua Van. Van is like literally exceptional to me at boxing. Like the way he rips to the body, then goes to the head. Joshua Van is a special prospect. So it's not a horrible loss. Doesn't look terrible. But I think Bunes is 35, yo. 35-year-old prospect. I don't see it. We've seen Johnson be pretty active over the past few years. He got a lot of fights as a pro, a lot of fights as an amateur. I think Jose Johnson could win this fight. I think the striking of Bunes is tricky. He trains with Pitbull brothers, so he definitely gets high-level looks in the training room, but he ain't getting a 6 foot fucking flyweight. Doesn't exist. I think Jose Johnson probably wins this thing. I feel like he's more in his prime. He's got more upside and potential. Went the distance with Asu Almabayev, which I guess that kind of deserves respect. I'm going to say Johnson wins it. Probably a decision, but not crazy to see Johnson even tapping a Bunes, because I question Bunes' gas tank a bit. Could have just been UFC jitters, though, on the debut, but like against Van, like, dude, I feel like he was shaky. He was like super jittery on the feet. Kind of chaotic striking. I mean, he's got a decent win against what? Yuma Horuchi, who fought on road to UFC, and he knocked him out. That was impressive. That's really not. Wascar Cruz, GCA Formiga beat him. I'm going to say Jose Johnson beats him too. Give me Jose Johnson. I think he's live for a sub. I don't know. Something's whispering in my ear. Late submission. We have a gassed out Bunes, and then Johnson strangles him. I like Jose Johnson's chances, though. Height advantage too. 5'7" to 6 foot. Johnson's a lot bigger. Minus 175 for Johnson. Not a terrible line. Plus 150 for Bunes. I really don't even care about the over in this fight, but I have to look. Over 2.5, minus 145. I'm feeling the underside. I don't know. Or at least fight ends inside distance. I think Johnson's live to win by submission. He's pretty relentless. Good gas tank. Solid off of his back. He beat Chad and Helliger up in weight too at 135 when he was fighting at 35. And I'm not trying to use MMA math, but I'm like picturing Bunes versus Anheliger. I think Bunes struggles with that type of physicality, whereas Johnson handled himself. So give me Jose Johnson to beat Felipe Bunes. I like that call. Let's keep running. Let's jump to the main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. Punahele Soriano versus Uros Medic. I'm going to pick Uros Medic with a bit of a pit in my stomach as I do it. I know for a fact Uros Medic is cleaner at striking and better from long range. The green zone striking, even in mid-range, like he's right in there in the mid-range too. In close range, Soriano's dangerous with his wild shots. But I think Medic is better from range, like I said, and quicker, right? And better at managing distance than Punahele Soriano is. So I see Medic having striking success from long range. But what I worry about would be the potential takedown threats from Soriano. I know Soriano is no Mitabek Orabai with his offensive wrestling, but he can wrestle a little bit. He has decent enough takedowns. He's a pretty physical fighter. He likes to like use brute force a lot of the time and just throw big shots, tie up, shoot for takedowns, beat you up from top position. Whereas Medic is more elusive, picks his shots well, times his punches and kicks, more of a counter shotter, KO ability. It's just worrisome on when this fight gets nasty. How does he look? But then you have to rate him kind of high right now. because he just starched Tim Means violently. And then, yes, Mitterberg Orabai bodied him on the ground, but Orabai is high level at grappling. Beat up Semmelsberger, and that was before Semmelsberger was completely washed. He kind of like killed Semmelsberger as a fighter. Knocked out Omar Morales. It might be 2.5 years ago, but like Morales KO win, I think holds some weight. Then a Jalen Turner loss. That's too long ago to really be relevant. And that was at lightweight. Weird that Soriano's coming down in weight, whereas Medic has moved up from lightweight. But like Medic is the bigger guy. He's taller. He's longer. I guess he's not as thick. If Medic can stop the takedown, he can tune up Soriano on the feet. Soriano is like powerful and wild in his striking, but I think a little too slow to the target because it's more of a brawler striking style. It's boxing, but brawling boxing. Whereas Medic has more of your fine-tuned kickboxing skills, and he has some power. So if he's able to counter shot Soriano, I could see him catching Soriano's chin and hurting Soriano. We've seen Soriano KO'd. Granted, Kopylov's a savage, but he got dusted up too by Stoltzfus. Granted, Stoltzfus has gotten a lot better since his debut. Regardless, I'm going to say Medic is live to win, but a difficult fight here against Soriano. And seeing like odds wise, I was like, damn, 2-1? 2-1 for Medic. I feel like it's more even than that. Let's see what the open was. Minus 206. Damn. Medic should be cleaner. And to be fair, I might be a little too high on the Soriano horse as far as my hesitancy because of his win over Baeza, where he looked really good. But Baeza hadn't won a fight since 2020, and I don't think he even wants to fight anymore. At least at that time in that fight, it didn't look like he wanted to be a fighter anymore. And it's not like Soriano finished him. He beat him by a decision, a guy who didn't want to be there. I'm going to say Uros Medic, more technical, could find a KO, but also a decision. I think counter shots are a key to victory and avoiding Soriano in close range and avoiding being on his back. If he can stop Soriano's takedowns, he'll have striking success, and I think he can get a finish. But if Soriano now starts landing big shots in close, starts taking them down, I'd be worried for Medic. So we shall see whose game, is employed the best. But I feel like Uros Medic is definitely more sound at striking from range. I don't even have an over. Nope, we do. Minus 156 for the over. I think it's live. It was over 1.5 or 2. Let me double check it again. Over 1.5, minus 156. Interesting. I lean yes on the over, but a worrisome yes. This is a weird fight. It's a good fight, though. It's just interesting to see a former middleweight versus a former lightweight, but like the former lightweight, has some clear striking advantages. Can he sleep Soriano? Right? That's the big question. I think he could. I mean, the precision on the knockout against Tim Means was impressive, and he stopped takedowns in that fight. So I'm going to say Uros Medic beats Punahele Soriano, and I think he is live for a sniper KO, counter shot. Next fight on the card, we have Austin Bashi versus Christian Rodriguez. I'm going to pick Austin Bashi to win. I'm going to go with the hype train. I've heard about this kid for years, even before Contender Series. It was like, you see him all over Instagram and stuff like that. He'd always come up in my feeds. This prospect's incredible. He's 13-0. He's 23. He's got really strong grappling. He's got really good submission threats. He's good at positional control. I'm picking him to beat Christian Rodriguez. Rodriguez is a quality striker, though, and he's got solid defense. And he's got good counter shots, and his grappling game isn't bad. But if you look back, like he was in compromised spots against Raul Rosas Jr. in round number 1. Austin Bashi is like a bigger, stronger, better Raul Rosas. This is also at 145. C-Rod's not at 135 anymore. He's at 145 now. Bashi's a strong kid at 145. Bashi can wrestle his ass off. Bashi's got good submissions. And I think he's going to put C-Rod in bad positions on the ground. C-Rod, he's been taken down in the past and controlled early in the UFC career. Jonathan Pierce was able to get him down and control him a bit. I think that was his debut too. And then last time out, got touched up a bit on the feet against Julian Erosa. And like, I kind of felt like he lost himself in that fight. It seemed like his confidence dwindled. He felt really uncomfortable. He looked weird on the feet after he was getting touched. Like he was surprised that Erosa was sitting in there and mixing him up with like that with him. He kind of shied away from the fight, and then he ends up getting caught in a gilly. I'm going to say Austin Bashi, the better grappler, can win by sub. Let's see if he's as good as the hype says. Let's see if he lives up to the expectation. When you watch him fight, you say, damn, this kid's knowledgeable in grappling. Damn, this dude's consistent with takedowns. Damn, this dude is hard to get off of you. Can he do it against a relatively good fighter? Like C-Rod is good, I guess, on the scale of unranked. If, being ranked is what determines good, then no, he's not good. But as far as unranked guys, decent potential, he's 27 years old. C-Rod's not an easy out for a debut in Austin Bashi, but I just don't feel confident that C-Rod is stifling these takedown attacks. And then I also don't feel super confident that he's easily shaking Austin Bashi off of him. So I'm going to say Austin Bashi's live to get his neck. I'm going to say Bashi wins by sub. He sticks to his opponents like freaking glue, yo. I'm telling you, this style of grappling, it's impressive and it's hard to deal with. And I think C-Rod's going to struggle. So I'm going to go with the debuting Austin Bashi to live up to the hype. He's minus 255. On the opposite side, C-Rod plus 215. Let's look at the over-unders. Over 2.5, minus 240. Under, plus 190. I just feel like Bashi is live to find the sub in this fight. I'm excited to see how this thing looks, man. Let's see. 13-0, super impressive record. Stepping into the UFC for a first time with a ton of hype outside of the UFC and a, fair size favorite against a vet at this point in Christian Rodriguez, who's also a decent prospect. I'm excited to find out what happens. I'm going to say Bashi wins. I'm going to say Bashi by sub. Let's go. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we have Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov. This is a really cool fight. I actually think this might be my favorite. Now, it probably is my favorite fight on the card. I'm going to pick Chris Curtis to beat Roman Kopylov. And I know some of you are going to say, no way, you're crazy. He's 37. But Chris Curtis was just in it against Brendan Allen, cracking him with big shots and dealing with a guy who had like pretty strong grappling skills and then having striking success and could have won that fight if not for the hamstring tear late in round number 5. It was 50-50. He was in that fight until the very end. I think Chris Curtis can make Roman Kopylov pay on the feet. Kopylov got touched up a bit by Cesar Almeida last fight, okay? You look at the striking exchanges between him and Almeida. He's getting punched hard. But what he had over Almeida was wrestling by a mile, okay? Almeida could not stop the damn takedown. Chris Curtis is not getting taken down like that. Chris Curtis ain't just falling to his back when you grab his leg. Chris Curtis has good grappling defense. He survived terrible position against Brendan Allen in round 1. And on the feet, Chris Curtis is a dangerous boxer. I agree Kopylov has better kicks, and Kopylov is better from long range. But Curtis is going to press the action, and he's going to be able to close the gap on Kopylov. When they tie up, Chris Curtis is strong. I don't think he's getting wrecked inside of the clinch by Kopylov. I actually think if Kopylov ties up with him, Curtis can back Kopylov against the cage and land punches in the clinch and box him up from close range. In close range, it's Chris Curtis's game. He's got the edge over Kopylov in the true close range of the fight, the true red zone of fighting. When you get to the mid-range, it's competitive, but I'd say Curtis could definitely land big shots, as could Kopylov. Curtis hasn't been showing it much as of late, but he's still got knockout power. I mean, to be fair, I guess he did show it against Brendan Allen. I'm also thinking of the burial fight. But he showed it against Brendan Allen. He rocked him. And if Kopylov sitting in the mid-range striking gets hit with a big clobbering shot over the top, he could definitely get hurt. It's also interesting, right? Because we have a good striking battle of two guys that are tricky, that tend to fight out of southpaw. The thing with Chris Curtis that I think can be worrisome is when he was so frustrated against Jack Hermanson getting touched up from distance. And I think people may use that as a comparison for the Kopylov fight. But I think the style is different. I think Curtis has more success closing the gap on Kopylov. I think Kopylov lands some big kicks to the body here. Good straight shots from range. But I think Curtis also hits him with some power shots. And Kopylov, if he's hurt on the feet, is not going to have a takedown option. Chris Curtis is a strong guy. I'm not saying he's going to go take down Kopylov, but I think he can fight off the takedown attempts. Curtis boxing in close is live to do damage against Kopylov. And I feel like it's going to be like a gritty tooth and nail back and forth type of fight. And I feel like Chris Curtis is live to win a competitive decision, 29-28. I could see him losing round 1, coming on strong, round 2 and 3, competitive even in the third round. And it's all about like the final minute. And Curtis able to land some big shots at the very end. And it's a split decision win. I see it as a competitive fight. It's going to be a good back and forth, and I'm excited to see how they clash. Now, I get it, though. There is worry around Curtis because of injuries. The hamstring injury when he fought against Brendan Allen and the foot fracture that he had leading up to October when he was supposed to fight against Kevin Holland. But I think Chris Curtis is ready to go, especially in a fight like this. I think this is a perfect fight for Chris Curtis and Kopylov, to be fair. Two guys that like to strike. Odds are we're going to see a lot of stand-up. And I think Chris Curtis can land some significant shots. Kopylov will have his moments, but Curtis with the heavier hands, I think he could definitely do more damage, right? More visible damage. You can even see in Kopylov's picture, he gets busted up when he gets hit. If Curtis can land some nice ones, that can also sway the judges towards his side if we're looking at a fight going distance. I'm going to say Chris Curtis, decision win in a good back and forth. And he is a plus 210 dog. Wow. Yeah, I guess I get it. Kopylov's got a lot of hype right now, even though he lost to Hernandez. He's got like the whole Kopylov cult. Minus 180 was at open for Kopylov. The over, minus 220. With two dangerous strikers, it's a sweaty over, but I do think it's going over. Plus 212 for Chris Curtis. That's interesting to me. Wow, he opened up at plus 155. So a lot of Kopylov love. I guess how I look at it is one thing I was digging into and really thinking about is look at the fights that Kopylov has had, right? Di Chirico, okay. Soriano, okay. Ribeiro, not good. Frem, mid. Then lost to Hernandez, then beat Cesar Almeida on a split decision. I mean, Almeida's a good striker. It wasn't really a split. It was a bullshit. That wasn't a split. It was a unanimous decision. But he had to wrestle that whole fight. And then we got Curtis. I mean, split with Allen where I thought he could have won, right? Win over Buckley. I know it's a while ago, but still beat a Buckley in 2022. Brendan Allen W by knockout. I guess I feel like Chris Curtis is being overlooked against Kopylov. I don't think Kopylov has, I don't know, the same impressiveness of opposition. I mean, even this fight, he fought Nasruddin Imavov, and yeah, it was a no contest. He was losing striking exchange, but was he, absolutely killed in that fight? He was still there. He wasn't out. I think Chris Curtis can win this fight. I'm picking the underdog. I'm going Chris Curtis for the upset win over Roman Kopylov in this fight, and I'm really excited to see the matchup unfold. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we got Abdulrazak Alhassan versus Cesar Almeida. Shit, we were just talking about Cesar Almeida. And I think he's going to win this fight. I'm picking him over a 40-year-old Abdulrazak Alhassan. Come on now. Like, we got to keep it real, man. Abdulrazak Alhassan's a fun brawler, but he's a brawler. And Cesar Almeida with like a high caliber kickboxing background, I'm not going to overlook him here against Alhassan, who he throws chaotic shots. And like, yes, when he lands, it's huge power and violence. Like the Cody Brundage fight, I know it's unfortunate with the freaking shots to the back of the head, but like it looked like he was on his way to a first round KO. But regardless, Abdulrazak Alhassan doesn't really have good setups. He doesn't set things up well. He just fucking throws bombs. And when he lands, yes, it's devastating. But you got Cesar Almeida with all these kickboxing fights. He's going to let Alhassan just hit him with the fucking shot from next week. Alhassan's going to start swinging wild and Cesar's going to get chinned. I know you'll say, oh, but Cesar got dropped against Kopylov. Roman Kopylov is a sniper-style striker, and he caught Cesar with the perfect straight. But it's not like Cesar didn't have striking moments later in that fight. Beat up Potieria last time, which, listen, it wasn't a great fight. But like I said, Potieria is a weird fucking style, man. And that's why I was talking about him earlier with the chance for maybe a bit of a D-gen upset. I think Almeida is going to tune up Abdulrazak Alhassan, especially a nearly 40-year-old Alhassan. Alhassan, judo base, but he's not a judo fighter. They call him judo. Judo Thunder is not even fitting. Let's say Abdul Thunder Razak Alhassan. I don't know why Judo Thunder even has to be there. Doesn't really use takedowns. It's not his game. He likes to strike. I'm sure he might shoot takedowns here against Cesar Almeida. If Caesar's getting out-wrestled by Abdulrazak Alhassan, though, terrible sign for him. He's probably on his way out of the UFC already. I think he's going to have striking success. I think he'll find a counter shot, probably catch Abdulrazak Alhassan with something. I think he can find the KO. Alhassan gets wild, and he's been dusted before. And I think that Cesar Almeida's live to dust him. I feel like it's a good matchup for him. Going to be the taller and longer guy a bit too. That's a good advantage to have. Like Potieria had that height and reach edge over Almeida last time out. Fight before, it's Kopylov, who's a savage from range and brings a legit threat of takedowns. Then you got Dylan Budka in the fight before, who literally just wants to fucking wrestle. I think this is my favorite matchup for Almeida so far. Well, in terms of ones that he can win. The Kopylov fight was cool. But this seems like the perfect canvas for him to fucking paint a masterpiece knockout. Like, if he's striking without Hassan and he doesn't find the KO, it's a missed opportunity. I think he's live for a counter shot. I think he's probably going to chin Abdulrazak Alhassan probably in the second or third round. Finds the chin on a counter shot KO. Alhassan slowed down a bit. He's getting chaotic. Almeida made his reads, and he finds the kill shot. So give me Cesar Almeida to win. Almeida is minus 275. He's a chalky favorite, man. Plus 235 for Alhassan, but I agree. Minus 170 for the over 1.5. It's like a sweaty over 1.5, though, because he could definitely catch him earlier in the second round. Either way, Cesar Almeida is going to have his way against Alhassan. Last time out, it was the no contest. Before that, Joe Pyfer wrecked him. Win against Ihor, but Ihor's not very good. Buckley split decision. To be honest, looked tough against Buckley. But that was almost 3 years ago. And to be honest with you, Buckley is a completely different style than Cesar Almeida at middleweight. The Jericho knockout with a high kick was pretty cool. That was a nice win. I'm going to say Cesar Almeida takes it home, and I think he wins this fight. Probably a counter shot KO. Let's get to the co-main. We have Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. I'm surprised this fight's not taking place in the fucking geriatric fight league, GFL, because both these guys, I think, are past their primes. Ponzinibbio, nearly 39. I guess I'm shitting on him. He's 38, but like he looks every bit of it. He's at how many wars now? Carlston Harris is 37, but to me, Harris, he looks 50. He looks terrible on the feet now. His last fight, he looked awful. I'm picking Ponzinibbio. Even though Carlston Harris is younger, he looks like an old man swinging shots against Chaos Williams getting dusted. He's slapping his punches. He looks like a South American journeyman boxer. If you have seen some of these low-level fights, if you've gone to local shows, they fucking call these guys up from South America, and they got like 30 fights with like 7 wins and 20 losses, whatever, and 3 draws. And they look like Carlston Harris, slapping, punching, stiff, uncomfortable on the feet. I don't get how Carlston Harris looks like that on the feet and has done as well as he has. I've always had my doubts about his striking, but it's just, I don't know, man. I think last fight, I know Chaos Williams is a knockout artist, but it's the way he was even throwing his offense. He was like slapping Chaos Williams. It was not punches. It was slap shots. He's a clunky and herky-jerky striker. He needs his fight on the ground. Is he going to blast double leg Ponzi? I don't see it. Ponzinibbio still got good pop in his hands. He's got good pressure with his striking. He's got good wrestling defense. He's got clean power. And I think Carlston Harris's chin is gone. His chin, like, started getting, exploited bad. First things first, I mean, Shavkat ended him. He had height back then, and then Shavkat ended him. That hurt against Wells, but found the submission. Chaos Williams starches him. And I think Santiago Ponzinibbio is going to starch him too. I think Carlston Harris is just too herky-jerky and clunky and striking, man. And his chin seems to be fading. He's going to need this fight on the ground. And I don't think he's out-wrestling Ponzinibbio. What's he going to do? Pull guard? No. Drag him to the ground in the clinch? I don't think so. Ponzinibbio, to me, is still more elusive than Harris. And I feel like Harris is just like quickly falling off. The chin is zilch, bro. The chin is fried. I know Chaos Williams is a big puncher, but still, the way that he was even throwing, forget about the chin, is zilch. Just the boxing that he was exploiting or throwing. He got exploited by how it looked, but the boxing he was putting out there was horrible. It was terrible. Santiago Ponzinibbio is going to sleep Carlston Harris. If he doesn't, Ponzinibbio needs to retire immediately. Ponzinibbio, violent KO. Carlston Harris is an awful striker who needs it on the ground, and I don't think he's going to be able to get it there. Ponzinibbio, minus 118 at open. He was the plus 135 dog. Harris, minus 102. I think Ponzi pulls through. I think this fight goes under 2.5, plus 100. Yeah, I think we get a violent KO. The way that Carlston Harris throws the slapping right hands is awful. He's kind of always done it, but I feel like it's gotten worse. And I think that Ponzinibbio lays him out. I mean, he was landing decent shots early with Muslim Salikov, sat in there and went 3 hard. And Salikov just did a spinning heel kick on Keenan's song. So to me, I got to respect what Ponzinibbio has gone out there and done with a savage like Salikov. I mean, look at his run. I mean, Kevin Holland knocks him out, but it's Kevin Holland. Tricky matchup. He chinned Morono in a fight he was losing. Close decision with Pereira, and then the Jeff Neal close decision. I think he's got one last KO in him, and I think he's going to sleep Carlston Harris, and then I think Ponzinibbio will have 30 wins. Call it a career after that. Call it a career after that. And I think Harris should too. Double retirement fight probably. And I think Ponzinibbio with a nice KO to get it done. Let's keep running. Next fight brings us to the main event. If you guys haven't, smash the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. We got Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas 2. Bravo, UFC. What a main event to start 2025 to let us know that it's going to be a fantastic year. Yeah. Come on, UFC. They should have put a better main event on. This is a fine featured fight of the night. Shouldn't be the main event. But regardless, let's talk about the main event. Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Ribas 2. It's a good spectacle for the eyes of us watching. But as far as how the fight's going to look, I mean, it's not a horrible matchup. To be fair, their first fight wasn't bad. But I don't think it's the needle-moving fight to start a year off. But regardless, let me stop ranting about it. I'm pissed. You can tell I'm getting emotional here. I got to calm down. I am picking Amanda Ribas to beat Mackenzie Dern, okay? I think she does it again. This is a rematch. They fought before. I feel like Amanda Ribas is just still better than Dern. Sometimes Dern decides to abort all new skills that she's learned and start swinging like a mad woman fighting in her fucking debut. She had those flaws years ago, and they still sometimes come out, and I don't like seeing it. Last time, yes, she beat Lupi Godinez. She was able to throw her. That was nice. Got on top of it, had her in mount. Mackenzie Dern looked good in that fight. The thing is, Amanda Ribas is a talented grappler too. Has a win over Mackenzie Dern already, where she kind of outdogged her, made her work a bit, backed her up a bit, made her uncomfortable, kept pressure on her, boxed her a bit with the hands. I think Amanda Ribas, in the realm of stand-up, still a little bit more technical than Mackenzie Dern. Dern has shown improvements, but she's still Mackenzie Dern. There's still a drop to her stance. She still throws weird at times. Grappling skill sets, I think pure jiu-jitsu, like Dern's quicker with transitions, but I think Ribas is stronger with positional control. And I think Ribas is going to be difficult to take down as well. And I think it's going to be hard for Dern to have really successful moments in striking that do significant damage. I think it's an interesting 5-round fight. It's a weird one for 5 rounds too. Ribas gone 5 rounds recently as well with Thug Rose. She didn't look awful in that fight. She fought tooth and nail, up in weight. This is Ribas coming back down to 115. She did a one-off fight at 115 where she wrecked Pinheiro. Then she went back up to 25. Now she's back down at 115. I think that Ribas is better than her previous run at 115. And I know a lot of people have this weird narrative in their minds that Ribas might be past her best days because she's traded wins and losses. But it was up in weight against some pretty legit competition. Up in weight, those girls are huge and the competition is stiff. Does Mackenzie Dern go out and beat Caitlin Sermonara, formerly Caitlin Chukagian? I don't think so. Does Mackenzie Dern beat Viviane Araujo? I don't think so. Araujo just upsetted Corinne Silva. Does she beat Macy Barber? No. Pinheiro? Yes, she will win that fight. Beats Thug Rose? No. Like, I feel like Amanda Ribas, even though she got a lot of losses up in weight, what she did was she got some good experience against some savages who are bigger. And if she can comfortably make 115, this experience, I think, helps her in a matchup against Dern because she's dealt with bigger and stronger and more explosive girls before. And I think that she can beat a Mackenzie Dern. Do I think she finishes her? Eileen? No. Do I think it's a competitive fight? Yes. I think Ribas wins more of the rounds. I think she'll take 4 out of the 5. Maybe even 3 out of the 5, but I'm leaning 4 out of the 5. Dern will have moments, but Ribas will be more precise, better with technical punching, straight shots. Dern will look to explode. I think she's going to work for maybe a throw and then get countered, and maybe Ribas gets on top of Dern, and we see Ribas working a little from top. Dern bursts back up to her feet. Dern will have a moment where she gets Ribas in a compromised position, I'm sure. But I think that Amanda Ribas is going to do more over the 25 minutes, and she's going to do enough to take the fight. I'm going to pick Amanda Ribas to beat Mackenzie Dern a second time. To be honest, like a couple years ago, it was looking like Dern was done for. Yan Xiaonan fight, granted, she looked okay there. And then Angela Hill goes out, wins that. It was good. But then like Andrade Rexer did okay with Lemos, to be fair. Also got hurt bad in that fight, but her grappling looked solid. She got, pretty wobbled though. And then Lupe Godinez win. I just feel like Amanda Ribas is still a horrible matchup for her. I don't think she gets revenge. I feel like it looks similar to the first fight. I think they both improved at a similar rate. And they're definitely, top 7 contenders in the women's strawweight division. Just think Ribas is still a tad bit better than Mackenzie Dern. And I'm going to say she beats her again. Amanda Ribas, decision win over Mackenzie Dern at -200, favorite status. Interesting. +170 for Mackenzie Dern. At open, Dern was +146 and Ribas was -170. So it's gotten a bit wider. This is not the main event they should have started 2025 off with. I have to say it again. -200 for over 4.5. Probably goes over 4.5. The card is good, but this is not the cherry on top. Even if this was a fucking co-main event, that's cool. And if they wanted to do this main event 2 weeks from the first card of the year, sure, I would have accepted it. But this is number 1 for 2025. I'm complaining heavy. I know 311 is going to be good. There's some nice fight nights on the way. I just wish they would have started the year off with something a little more hype for the main event. It feels like this card isn't finished yet. It feels like we should have one more fight to talk about that has like a little more emphasis. This is a big rematch for women's MMA, and I think it'll be a good fight. I'm happy to have the UFC back. Don't get it twisted, but I got to keep it real. This is not how you start the year off. So, mistake by the UFC for 2025, starting with Dern versus Ribas too. Either way, I think the ladies will throw down. I think we'll have some fun moments. I think the card is good. I'm picking Amanda Ribas to win. I think as far as the offensive attack where wrestling goes, I slightly favor Ribas. I think in boxing, I favor Ribas. And in jiu-jitsu, like I said, it's competitive with the grappling on both sides, but I think Ribas is better at control than Mackenzie Dern is, and I see Ribas winning more of the fight, a little bit more technical, I don't know, a little bit more seasoned, maybe a little bit stronger, even though on paper she got less fights than Dern. I feel like Ribas is just, I don't know, seemingly more wise in the fight game, a bit better of a fight IQ on the side of Amanda Ribas, and I think she wins against Mackenzie Dern. First card of the year. We're back at it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the break. For the savages that were riding with me during the off weeks, I was live almost every single day. And those live streams every day are going to keep coming. So keep it locked in on the channel. I appreciate everybody watching. Smash the like button. If you guys are new, welcome to the channel. Subscribe to it. You can check out the content schedule down below to see when I'm dropping videos and live streams. Thank you guys all for watching. Much love. Let me know what you thought of the picks in the comments. And do you agree this is not the main event to start 2025? It is the main event to start 2025, but it shouldn't be. Much love, people. I'll see you on the next one. W's in the comments if you got nothing to say. Thank you for watching. Good night. Peace out.